What's up, and welcome back to the Unreal Podcast. Today I got a special guest, Mr. Darian, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Darian, also known as Carman. Yeah, that's me. you know?
So, first of all, that's awesome, man. I think that's so great, because, so for people who don't know, that kind of came from Ha Davis. He's this comedian, fucking hilarious. I actually used to know him, too. He's a really cool dude, but he does this thing where he'll do videos and he'll say like something, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
So when you did that, I thought that was really smart, man. So this is the Carman. If you want to know Carman, yeah, that's him. And we'll get into the car stuff. We'll definitely talk about all of that. But first and foremost, so just for the people at home to know, the way that you and I had first ever connected, this was years ago. I must have been, I think you graduated, what, 2013?
14.
Oh, so you were actually 2 grades below me then.
Yeah.
But I want to say you were probably like a sophomore, maybe I was a senior or something like that. And I remember you had posted something on, I think you had just posted on Facebook, and you were like, I got this opportunity. If people want to check it out, it's about making money. Yeah. So, of course, me being me, I'm like, click. Like, oh, what's up? So we end up linking up. And you were telling me about the MCA shit. So how did you get into that, and what made you want to do stuff like that? And explain to people what exactly like the MCA stuff is.
Yep. So what I did was my first thing, I actually had my boy Nick Palin and Jason Reed, who one day like brought me over to his house. And the original first thing that I actually really did get into was actually called Ambient Energy. And what that was, it was basically like selling like. We live in a deregulated state, so I'm allowed to, sell energy to anyone, but Central Hudson is your main provider because, that's who is your provider.
I didn't even know that.
So what it is that they invited me over there, and then from that moment, like, I met, like, my first, like, millionaires. It was actually right up here at Skytop. At the restaurant.
Wow.
And that was my first time ever being introduced into something like that. And then as time went on and progressed, then I got into MCA, which MCA was the first time that I actually made, like $2,000. It's how I bought my first car, got insurance, and did all that stuff. And then, it was a Volkswagen. It was my first car. Got pulled over way too much in it.
Was your check engine light always fucking on? Because I had a dead end. My shit was always on.
It was crazy. It just like everything went wrong.
Bro, it's like possibly think if you have a fucking Volkswagen, you have more concern if your check engine light isn't on. You're like, hold up. I thought this shit came stock check engine light on. Like, what's going on here?
It was crazy.
But that's dope. So and you started to, again, like, it's just one of those things. I've never liked the phrase pyramid scheme because when you put scheme in it, it just sounds negative.
It sounds negative.
But essentially what it is we'll call it the business model of anything like MCA or whatever, anything like that. It's essentially, it's networking. So somebody sells, X product or service, and then people below them sell, they get, uplines.
Get paid.
And all that good stuff. And I've had friends, I had a friend of mine who was doing stuff with like It Works, which is like health and beauty products, which is actually, stuff like that is incredibly beneficial for stay-at-home parents, be it mom or dad, mostly moms, because they can work from home. Yeah. And they can be with the kids and work from home and substantiate that income while the other person, your spouse or whatever, goes out and works. But so you started to do the MCA stuff, and you started to get some people on, right? Starting to make some money. So you started to be like, oh, this has got some potential in it and shit. Yep. And then we kind of sat down, and I think, so I never made a single sale. I never made a fucking dollar off it. Probably because, again, I just saw money and I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. But
yeah,
I had no idea about any of it. But it sounds like you were able to get some people. Did you end up getting other people who were pretty good at it, and it kind of helped you make some money?
So I got like, MCA was just strictly, so like MCA, you have different ones that make you residual income. Some make more than others. MCA was a business that you got paid every Friday like everyone else. So when you were doing that, it was more based off of like individually, like what can you do each week to make yourself the max amount of money. So what it was is like every $40 that someone paid into your business, you got $80 for it. So it was more about like each week, like how many people can I get to join up?
Yeah.
Even though you may not like the business aspect of it, but if I can spend $40 and make $80, I made back my money that I spent plus $40 more. And then anything after that is just $80. So I already made back off of one sale, made back my money plus 40.
And the thing too is the more you start to make off that shit, the easier it is to convince people. Exactly. Like I was saying, like that friend of mine who was doing it, now she kept saying like, just sign up under me. Like I will literally put my sales under you. You don't have to do nothing, but having that body is going to help me. And I was like, for the longest time, I'm like, first of all, I don't want to do it because I'm never going to sell health and beauty products. I don't want to fucking be annoying. Like nobody's going to buy a fucking, face cream off of me. What the fuck? Like, what do I know about that shit? So I kept denying it, but I finally gave in. I was like, whatever, like, and I think a lot of these places, they have like a startup cost, like whether it be a kit or, the knowledge or class, something like that. So that one did. It had like a startup kit. It was like $100. And I did it, and she was like, all right, now just watch. And like, I swear to God, literally now she killed it at this shit, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But literally like the first month, she made me $2,000. Like in a month, and I didn't fucking do anything. I'm like, what? Now, it ended up being like that was the most I had ever made. And then after that, like before I finally was like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. She had made me like, there were a couple months where she made me like $20, $30. A couple months where she made me like, more money than that. But of course, like the pro and the con of that is that like, it's entirely dependent on how hard you work and how hard the people below you work.
Exactly.
So the good thing is that you can have a month where you make 5, 6 G's. Mm-hmm. The bad thing is where you might have a month where again you can make like
nothing.
A couple dollars, but same kind of shit as like waitressing or car sales or like anything. When you have either when you get tips or commission, it's like the harder you work, the more work that's available for you, the better it is. But if you're a hard worker and you got ethic, you probably prefer an environment like that because you're like, oh, I get paid based on the amount of work I do. Instead of somebody being like, hey, you're worth X amount of dollars right off the bat, no matter how hard you fucking work.
Yeah, it was crazy. So like being in that network marketing business, and I started it, like I said, when I was 16, and then I went through like so many different channels, and then finally found one, which was Wake Up Now, which that one I went crazy for. I made shirts, I got banners, it was crazy. But that was the first time that I ever made like a set amount each month where residual money was working for me. It was like, so I got my first 12 people to join, blah, blah, with $100 to join. And then I was making $600 after that each and every single month. Yeah. Plus I had the energy drink that was in it. I had that in Kennedy's Fried Chicken.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was selling it in Kennedy's.
I didn't even know that.
So it was like, it was going crazy. But like the worst thing about the business is realistically, like when people hear network marketing, they think that it's just like, all right, I joined this business. Now I don't have to do anything else and money's just going to fall into my lap. So it's kind of like touching base on when you join these companies, you have to work. They're not paying you to just do nothing.
Yeah,
like, you can't just sit there and do nothing. So it's like with any job, you can't go into work and think that you're going to get paid money to do nothing. It's either you're going to get fired or
you're going to fucking do some work, or we're going to find somebody else who's going to do the work.
Who's going to do it.
So,
but it was crazy.
So you went from MCA, and then you did it was Ambit to MCA to Wake Up Now. Did you do any other sort of network marketing after that, or was that kind of your last stint before you got into other stuff?
So like I went into Alpha, which is like a tea and coffee, which deals with like this mushroom. That business was the first time that I actually like went on conference calls and actually met with millionaires. Like the dude came to this, it was a doctor's house, and he came and like we had drinks and wine and all this other stuff, and this dude came in with a Porsche. It was the first time I ever seen like a foreign car that like wasn't a rental. Like it was actually his.
She got plates on it. It was dealer.
Crazy. So I was like, from there, I was like, oh no, I can really do like some crazy stuff with this. So then, so I did Alpha. Alpha was, it wasn't for me. Like I'm not really good at doing the whole teas and coffee. Yeah. So that kind of fell through the cracks. And then I got introduced to ACN, which was by my boy who does door-to-door sales. Oh, okay. So like he messaged me like,
that's that throwback groundwork.
Crazy.
Right there.
He still does it.
Yeah.
Still right now. So he hit me up and he was like, yo, I got this thing. Like we should just do ACN. My upline, makes X amount of money. And I actually met up with him, and then they actually traveled from North Carolina just for me because my boy told about like how much I was doing. It was hard for you. And so he traveled up here, and I actually had a couple meetings right at the Starbucks. And I had like a couple people that went, but that one was another $500. But that one, like, you had to pass so many tests because now you're touching on so many services and products. So now I can sell, a fixed rate for Central Hudson. I can sell cell phones. I can sell the plans for the cell phones. I can sell Vivient, which is like a system, like a home security system that I could sell. So that was like, there were so many different trainings. So the $500 for that company made sense to me. Like I'm getting all of these different aspects that I can sell. So it's not just one product or one basis off. I'm selling a lot of different services. And in the services, you get paid for one, selling the service. And then as well as I get paid for getting downline. So now I'm getting paid for getting people to join, but I'm also getting paid for people taking on the services. So now I have two different streams of income. That's a good thing.
It's not just a matter of, I get people. Yeah, exactly. Those two different incomes.
So that was great for me. And then like I still do it, and he actually just messaged me not too long ago telling me like I still have $1,500 in my download that I'm still making. So people that I joined and had joined from other things are still technically making money. Do I ever touch it? No, because I don't want to renew it because now I'm into something else. So it was It was actually good. So I touched on a lot of different. I still am open minded to network marketing stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I would rather now. I'm in the aspect of now. I'd rather invest in it and like do it like where your friend was just like, all right, well, I'll do all the work. Like I want somebody like that. Like I'll throw X amount of money towards it.
Yep.
You can do all the work. Find the people that are willing to do the work, and I'll do that. Because network marketing is still to this day one of the best businesses. That
And it's just growing and growing. And the thing, it's so funny you say that because. And we had talked before, and I won't go through it again because the people who are watching this have seen it 100 times. But I was telling you the story about how over the summertime I got introduced to something, ended up being Amway, which is, again, network marketing, selling stuff. And I knew I didn't really want to do it, but something in me was just like, just follow through with this. They had me read a book. They had me meet with a couple people. They had me go to this big conference where, again, you're with people who are millionaires. And the thing is, I don't regret it at all. In fact, I'm so happy I did it. Obviously not because I'm making money off Amway. I never touched that stuff. But, my thing is, and one of the big things about, having people sit here is I could, even if somebody's doing something in a completely, entirely different field that I'll never, ever be anywhere close to, you can learn about a bunch of different shit. And the one thing that got me into was just the business aspect, which, as you were pointing out, something that you caught on to early on.
Yeah.
So now, and we'll get into it a little bit later about how you've been able to take that knowledge and those experiences and skills into what you do now, and things you have going forward. But that was the benefit. I was like, man, like, I don't look back at him like, oh, I wasted my time. I wasted a trip to Jersey. I went and bought a suit for fucking nothing. No, I'm like, oh, I learned some things. I watch people, and even though they're doing something that I'm not doing at all and don't want to do, it's like, again, like learning people's process, what's important to them, the business aspect. But one of the things they had me do as part of like the routine was to read this book, 21st Century Business by Robert Kiyosaki. We were talking about that when we met up last week. And one of the biggest things in that book is that there's these quadrants. Like, so it's like, employee, which is the first step, small business or self-employed, big business, and then investor. And ideally, you want to work your way, if possible, to the investor, because the thing about investor is your money makes money for you, not your work. When you're in any of those other quadrants, it's kind of like you trade your time and your work for money. But when you're an investor, you put your money up, you have the money up front. So I got 1,000, here's 1,000. You're going to go make yourself thousands, and I'm going to get 2,000 back. Yep. Mutually beneficial, all that good stuff. So it seems like you're definitely going in the right path, man. But all that business stuff. So that ended up ultimately leading you to where you are now, right? Which is at Honda. So how did you end up at Honda?
So funny story, actually. So actually, what I ended up first going to is I went to Romeo Ford.
Oh, that's right. You told me about that.
Ford first. And, I got into it. I had Anastasia actually was one of the ones that, was like, yeah, you need to come through here. You're always trying to sell stuff. I think that you would be really good in car sales. So I ended up not going to Honda when she originally asked me to. And I went to Ford. And, I started there. And my first month, they were like having this event, made it all exciting and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, this is going to be dope. And then I actually, in my next actual full month of actually being a salesperson, sold my most amount of cars, period, because I'm just starting. But I sold 17 cars in that.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot.
Which was like, for me, and then like I saw the paycheck and I was like, oh, okay. I understand now. Okay, I should have been doing this. And then, some things happened and, went downhill and just everything went bad.
And then yada, 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 here we are. Now you come to Honda. How did you end up, did you reach out to Annie after the fact, and you were like, "Hey, look, you was right. I was wrong. Welcome you in with open arms."
So I messaged her, and I was just like, "So how it originally started is I messaged her, and I was just like, so what is the play plan at Honda?" And she was like, super upset with me. Like, I told you to come here to begin with, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think you need to, like, I've been telling you that you needed to start here, but you wanted to go there, and blah, blah. She was super mad. And, like, still to this day, I'm saying how she's so upset. But anyway, so I finally came in and, finally got the interview. She, of course, put in, like, a good word for me. And, I got the job pretty much, like, right on the spot, and then ended up starting, like, a week later, which then, now I'm here, and Carman.
And you've been there for how long now?
Been there since December 3rd of 2018, so a year and like 2 months.
All right, so you've been there for a little while now. And one question I didn't even think to ask Annie, but I am interested in is, what is it like when you try to sell somebody on a car that isn't Honda? Now, before I even have you answer that, another question just to kind of add to that is, do you get different commissions if you sell a Honda versus any other make?
No.
So it's the same altogether. So as far as they're
Same.
concerned, there's primarily Honda, but hey, whatever you buy from us, you still get your percentage, however.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. So if there's a Volkswagen, if there's a Ford, or if there's whatever is on our lot, I mean, of course, at that point in time, it's a used car. I mean, you have opportunity to make a little bit more on used cars because there's, net cap. There's not a cap on it. So, I mean, besides that, it's your percentage. Whatever percentage you get, whatever car you sell, you get that X amount of percentage of that car. Now, what a lot of people get misconstrued also in the car business, there's like, just because I'm selling like a $50,000,
doesn't mean you're making like
doesn't mean that I'm making
10
grand off of that car.
Yeah,
it's the actual gross profit of the car. So whatever the dealership made in gross off that car, I get a percentage of that, not of the total net price of the car.
Right.
So that's another thing that
now as far as because I've had to buy quite a few cars myself. As far as the like negotiation process, so let's say you sit down with somebody, you run their credit, you go through the motions, and they find a car they like, and you say, hey, for this, you got this much down, you put this much down, we can get you this kind of monthly cost. And people are kind of on the fence. I've seen it myself because I actually went there before I got my Mazda. And the woman I was with, she was like, I'll be right back. She came back like 5 minutes later, and she was like, so I talked to my bosses, and we could do this much. So is that do you try to negotiate terms for the customer, or do you kind of just go in there and you're like, listen, like, this person's really interested in this car, if we could go a little bit lower, I think they would really take it, and everybody wins. How does that work?
It's kind of like both. I mean, like, so it's actually funny that you say that. So for instances like that, like, which is like I call it now in the dealership, I have them all calling it like cars for the hood because I started that. So what it is when you go in there and I'll go in there and I'll say, okay, well, I have this. They have this amount of money down, and what I'll do is I'll say, like, what are the vehicles that will work for where they're at as far as for credit wise, money down, and all that stuff. And then, they'll ultimately give me, an option or options depending on, where you fall at. And then, I'll come out there and I'll be like, all right, well, these are your options. These are what you can do with the amount of money that you have down. You have other options to maybe get a cosigner or to do this or to do whatever it is that, it comes out to. And then I let them ultimately pick their car that they actually love. So it's not like I'm going in there and I'm trying to beat you up for the sale. I mean, I'm ultimately out. The more cars I sell, either or, I'm going to get paid money. So, I mean, it doesn't really, I guess.
Right, because if somebody's got 5 options, they all cost different prices. You just want them to get in the one they like because you got them into something, they got into what they liked.
Biggest thing is about people's budget. Everyone, has a budget. When you come into a dealership, you know the amount of money you want to spend with the amount of money that you want to put down. So me as a salesperson, my job is to find the car that fits within your budget. So realistically, you're telling me when we're talking and doing things like this, is building rapport, and I'm figuring out, and trying to find the perfect car that matches your budget.
Yeah. So. And so I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I got a feeling most people probably go in and their biggest concern is the monthly payment.
Of course.
Right now, I learned the hard way that the interest rate is ultimately the most important factor over the course of the long term, because it's a matter of how much are you going to be paying in total versus the cost of it. And obviously if you do usually if you do like a shorter term, you're going to have higher monthly payments. So like a lot of people, and I think a lot of the standards now becoming like 5-year terms, right? Yeah. Because it used to kind of be like the standard was just like you come in, you get a 4-year term. But a lot of dealerships I know are doing like 5 and 6-year terms.
5 and 6 year
which again is beneficial because you get lower monthly payments. However, of course, like you're paying for a longer period of time. So everything has an upside downside. I learned that, like I said, the hard way, because, I've had a car that was like super expensive, but it was like a 4 or 5 month, and I've had cars that it's like 6 year or 4 or 5 year. And then I've had cars where it's like a 6 year, and it's like, oh great, like the monthly cost is less, but even when I go in, like I'm like, for me, because that's just the reality. Again, when you talk about budget, it's like, look, it does. Usually people's primary concern, unless they have a lot of flexibility, is, hey, I can afford X dollars per month, and I have X dollars right now on me that I could put down. Exactly. And then your job is, all right, collect that information, go scavenge for some stuff and find some things. Now, do you like frequently inventory stuff? Like, do you usually know, like, right offhand, like, is there times when people come in and you're like, oh, I know exactly the car? Yeah. Or do people come in and like, I need these things, you're like, oh, let me go check for you?
So I mean, it's a combination. So some people come in, they know exactly what they want, and how much money they have down. They know everything from the front to back. They're your people that really have done their research and know exactly what they want. And then you have some people that really don't know what they want, and you kind of have to, I guess, pull it out of them to get the information that you need. But for the most part, like you said, is about payment. So if I can ask you a payment, like, okay, well, where are you trying to be at for payment wise? I can pretty much gauge out the car that, you know, we need to look at. And then from there, like, I'll give you the breakdown. So in financing, I don't know if you know, but for every $1,000 that you do down is $20 to the payment. And then leasing every $1,000.
Oh, I did not know that actually.
It's $30 to the payment. So say if you want to be in your financing and you want to be on a $300 car, $300 payment in a car, that's a $15,000 car.
Yeah.
So that's just how it gauges out. Mm-hmm. And then when some people come in, they're like, "Oh, I want to be at a $300 or $250 car payment, but I want to look at this $30,000 car."
It's never going to work.
It's just not going to work.
But of course, that's just you just have to have some common sense though when you go into it too. It's like you can't. That's not going to work. But you know, one of the other things I noticed too is that when you guys do like essentially like a mock up, because when I was there, the woman came out and they'll actually show you the difference. So like they'll give you different options of the amount you can put down. Even if I walk in and I say I got 1,000 down, they're still going to show me like, hey, if you do put the 15, we're going to get you in that monthly range. Or, you know, if you do take less, then you're going to be a little bit outside of that range. Yep. So is that something that like once you figure out the cost of the car and like you just kind of go in there and once you have their credit and shit, you just like, you know, you get that mock up and you come out and say, hey, these are again, you know, the common theme seems to be options. Because me, from my perspective as a consumer myself, is like the more options I have, the better. You know, again, like there are times when I know exactly what I want. But for the most part, I'm like, I want options, man. Like I want, even if it's something I know I'm not going to want, I want to look at all the different stuff you got because that's going to help me settle. I need to see and I need to compare. Even if I'm sold on something, I need to, and you know, I'll be like, oh, I definitely want this, but I'm like, ooh, that's kind of nice. Nah, I still want that, you know, or maybe I do change my mind up. But so it seems like a big focus for you guys is definitely like, again, options. And like you said, like you're there for them. Like, you know, I'm trying to get you into something because then that's going to help me and it's going to get you into the car that you need, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, a good thing that comes with Honda that I've noticed, you know, a lot more is that, like, everyone really works well together at Honda.
Oh, I pointed that out. And I honestly really think that's like it's like an aberration because you're in now, you've worked at other dealerships, so you would have personal experience. But I would imagine, I'm like, if you work in a space where literally it's like the amount of money you make is dependent on your sales, it could very easily get, and that's the same, like, again, the same thing in like the restaurant business where it's like, you know, you would hope that the team works well together, but at the end of the day, it's like, damn, like, you know, I'm trying to make the most sales or wait the most tables that I can make. Mm-hmm. But it seems like you guys have all figured out a way where it's like, you're all doing pretty damn well for yourselves and nobody's struggling to make a car sale. You know what I mean? So how did that was that kind of the culture you got when you went there? It was kind of like that. And how did you fit into that? Like, that, you know, they said, hey, come on in. Like, this is how we do it.
No, when I originally got there, it was straight cutthroat sales. Like, it was just like boom, boom, boom. But then, you know, like in car business, you have a lot of people that, you know, it's just not for them and they leave. Mm-hmm. So like, as time went on, and then you have your main group of people that just have been there for that year or 2 years. Of course, people have been there longer than me. And you kind of create like this bond that just like gels together. So, I mean, it's just like everyone is always willing to help the next person. But ultimately, you know, we're not trying to just stomp on each other's necks with like certain things. Like when I was at Ford, like it was like you could do nothing in the sale, but because you like delivered the car, now you get half the point and half the money that you did when they technically did really nothing. Yeah. But like over here, it's just like, you know, okay, I'll do your delivery, but you know, next time you got to do mine.
See, that's exactly what it is. That scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. Exactly. And I think so. This is why I think it's very smart on your guys' end is that. Again, with car sales, like you can never predetermine how many sales a person's going to make, how many customers there's going to be, how many people are going to need a car, when they need a car, how much inventory, all that stuff is fluctuating so often. So the benefit, as I watch this, you know, you guys do your thing, is that, let's put it like this, like let's say you and Annie, again, like you guys are tight, you guys are close. So let's say that there's a month when, you know, there's a day when 2 or 3 people come in at the same time looking for you, right? Mm-hmm. You can only be in one place at a time. You can only make one sale at a time. Now, if you tell if you were to try to take all 3 of them on, you would be hurting yourself essentially because you're going to be making people wait and you're going to be rushing for each person until you get to the last one, which is ultimately not very good customer service. But if you're cool with Annie and you say, look, I got 3 people here looking for me, but they trust me, they you know, that my word is good. And I say, I think Annie can really help you. I'm in the middle of a sale, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And then either that person could choose to come by again, or they can say, hey, you know what, I'm still looking for something and I'm ready right now, but hey, I couldn't get Darian, but Annie's a cool person. And then vice versa. There might be a time when you might not have somebody coming in there necessarily for you, or, you know, there might be other people doing stuff and you're not doing anything at that time. And then boom, Annie's got 2-3 people and it's like, hey, I think Darian can really help you out. So, and it blows my mind that people don't realize that. Like, yo, don't burn those bridges because I don't care what nobody says. You're always gonna need somebody at some point.
There's been people in the car business that I've worked with that burn that bridge, and then they need you at some point.
And you're like, no, fuck that.
You're like, no, I'm not.
I'm not helping. I'm not delivering your car. I'm not writing up no paper.
You gotta figure it out, or you can pay me.
Yeah, or pay me, and I'll take care of all that shit for you.
So
that's crazy, man. But yeah. So we'll take a quick break for a second, and then when we come back, we'll talk about a couple things. Fatherhood, first of all. Yeah. I getting a lot of parents on here, and I like to hear about it. So we'll talk about fatherhood and a couple other things, and we'll be right back for that. All right. So fatherhood, man. What has that been like for you?
Fatherhood is tough, man. I don't care what anyone says. So for me, I became, a father while I was still in high school. So I had I didn't personally have my daughter, but I had her at 17. And so I'm still in high school. Now it's just like, it was like a switch. Like the first time when you look at your kid,
your whole life changes.
Everything changes. And it's like, like they talk about that moment of when, like it really kicks in for you. And for me, it was when I was holding my daughter in Northern Dutchess. And from that point on, man, it was crazy. Started working crazily amounts of hours, doing things like I'm doing now, trying to find any type of way to make more money. Of course, at that point in time, me and Paige were not living together at that point in time. But that whole stretch of like, things of then was crazy. It was like, living in my mom's house at one point at 16 to living in basically like a closet. I had like a pack and play in there. And I actually have videos of Paige like vacuuming my little closet at my mom's house. And then
you gotta start from somewhere now, man.
It was crazy. So fatherhood brings you through a lot of ups and downs to get you to a point of where you can be at where I guess I'm at now. I mean, I'm not exactly at where I want to be at, but having my daughter definitely pushed me along. It's helping you
get there a lot faster. Yeah. So now, of course, like I think the common theme is like usually when people have a kid, especially at a young age, is like you said that's that flip switches, and it's like instantly like you grow up, So do you think though that was beneficial? Because I don't have kids, but there are life events that I went through that essentially like thrusted me into a more mature role than any person my age should have been in, and I could very easily look back at that and be like, oh, I should have, at 15, 16, I should have never had to deal with that shit. But at the same time, I actually appreciate those trials and tribulations because I'm like, it made me grow up and it made me be, 25 years old with still a lot of room to grow and having already come a long way. So do you think that was ultimately a good thing or, do you, I'm sure too. And again, one of the things, because I just had Meeks on the other day, and one of the things is that I appreciated that he said it was like, you got to be honest. And I got to imagine there's times when you're like, sometimes you're just like, damn, like sometimes I just wish there was, I could go back to like when I just had like a week, my free time, or like sometimes you just, at the very least you miss that time and you regret the fact that you didn't capitalize on it because you don't expect something like that to happen. But so how do you kind of balance that? Like I said, like, you have a whole other life depending on you now and extra work, less sleep, less time and stuff like that. But so how do you kind of find that balance?
So it's actually funny that you said that because, for a long, long time, I was like super upset. Like, dang, I had this kid. I had to go right into work at 17 years old.
If we're just keeping it a buck, man, like, no, like, let's be real. Almost, unless you're planning for it, like, if it happens unexpectedly, any human being would be like, this like, it honestly kind of sucks. Like, I'm losing my free time. Like, my whole life is changing. But also, if you think about it, to have that mindset just simply means that you acknowledge, though, that you have to make those changes. That's why you're upset, because you realize the responsibility you're about to accept. But again, you're accepting that responsibility whether you ask for it or not. So I'm not one of them people, man. Like we all human. We got to be real. And I know damn well that even when I go to have my first kid, it's gonna be like right off the bat. I'm like, damn, now I can't just sleep in. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I know that there's gonna be things that you love and hate about fatherhood and parenthood and all that. But again, if you're being real, you got to accept like it kind of does suck. So at what point do you think that you kind of finally start to get over that phase and be like, all right, now it's time to man up and strap down and do what I gotta do?
So I mean, I would say I really, really got past it to where like now I'm at like a good space is in 2019.
Yeah.
So like it took me like I said I was like super like not upset, like of course like I love my daughter, but I was definitely upset like
it's not about
what if I I went through with football, like because I went to NFL camp, like my grandparents sent me to NFL camp and I did like a bunch of stuff there, met professional athletes that gave me a scholarship. I had Maris and Brockport looking at me, and then now Like I got a kid, I can't. Of course, I'm not gonna leave my daughter to and Paige to do everything by themselves. So I was like, nah, I gotta settle down. I gotta do what I gotta do. Amongst a bunch of other things that occurred. So like I was just like a super upset person up until like 2019, where like I really like made a change. Like I don't know what it was. Well, I mean, like I stopped drinking, so I don't drink anymore at all.
Oh, that's what's up, man.
So like it was just like it was a roller coaster of a lot of things that happened, and got sent to jail for like a day or two, and got out. They sent me to anger management and a whole bunch of other stuff, which is crazy because like those things, like most people would be so upset, but it was like now that I look back at it, I was like, that was really the greatest thing. Like they gave me so many tools to work with those things. You need to get your ass kicked
sometimes.
Exactly.
Sometimes you need somebody to really, like, whether it be life itself or your situations or people around you. Like you sometimes really need your ass whooped to kind of. That's exactly what I did.
That judge whooped my ass. Hell yeah! It was like, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, I understand now. And now, like those things, like when I was going through them and going over the process of like what happened and like the things that closed doors on me. Like those things that I thought that I was really upset about, just in the end ended up opening up other doors for me. So it was like it ended up working out fine to where now I'm at like a much happier, better place now. Yeah, which happened in 2019. So
I think I've had that realization too, that it's like my thing is, look, when things have happened, they've happened. Like it doesn't matter how long I worry about it or stress about it or regret it. Like there is literally no change in the past. So the best thing I can do is accept it and learn from it, because like I said, I've had opportunities that up until even just recently, I didn't even realize how major, opportunities I had in the past where I could have been like doing this entertainment thing, doing things like I'm doing now years ago, and having a way, being way further down the road at this point in time. But again, I also look at it like, what? It's very clear that it didn't happen because it wasn't meant to happen at that point in time. I wasn't meant to be on fucking Wild 'N Out. You weren't meant to be in the NFL, but even though we may wish we may regret those things, we're realizing like, look, life goes on and there's still these other amazing things happening that otherwise wouldn't have been presented if I had jumped on those other opportunities. Like we literally, like if I had capitalized on that shit, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now as we sit here. But again, it's just, it's the trials and tribulations of life, man. It's how you adapt to things, how you can grow from shit, and how you handle adversity and stuff like that. And I would imagine that being a fatherhood only, gives you better tools to do that.
Yes. Being a dad gives you a lot of different tools, because you got, like, now my daughter is 6 years old. Now she's in kindergarten. That's crazy. Now she's got her own, like, little attitude. I was
actually going to ask you, like, is she starting to develop? Because, like, kids are kids, but I feel like most parents usually tell me, like, it's right around that time when they start to get into school where they actually develop a personality. And you can kind of see the person that they're growing into. Because, of course, like, kids any age, like, have personality. But for the most part, they don't really comprehend a lot of things. But it's like once she gets into kindergarten, now she's starting to understand certain things. She has the capability of having an attitude and knowing that she has it. Exactly. How has that been? And how is it to raise a girl, man? Because
it's I feel like raising a girl is a lot harder than I feel like raising a boy. But females, on the female aspect of it, they say that raising a boy is a lot harder. But for me, it's like I feel like I have to be more hard on my daughter than I necessarily might be with my son. And it's only because, like, I don't know like how to explain it. Like with my daughter, like she'll be doing some crazy dance like that she'll see on TV, and I'm like, no, stop that. Like that can't happen. We can't have.
What I think it is, and I'm again, we all about keeping it real here, and I'll tell you exactly what this is. Like, because I used to be this way with my sister. I think the reason that a man is a lot more hard on any like female in his life, be it like daughter, sister, wife, whatever, is because two things. First of all, the truth of the matter is that unfortunately, like, no matter what, women are always more susceptible to harm. And men are on average the more dangerous person. Like I'll tell you one thing, by no means I'm no shitty person, but I know the way that I have interacted with some women. And I'll tell you something, I don't want the women in my life to come across somebody who might have been like, who's like that, when I was at that point in time. Exactly. So that makes you think, and especially the worst, again, like I'm not a bad dude, but I've had my moments. I got to admit, like there's been definitely times when I've acted crazy towards women. I've never will put my hands on a woman, but I've definitely said some crazy shit, disrespectful shit. And I'm like, if a woman in my life ever came across him like that, I'll fucking kill his ass. I'll whoop his ass up and down the block. You know what I'm saying? So I think that knowing how we have been in our worst moments makes us realize too, like, ooh, I don't want her coming across somebody like how I was at that point in time.
Exactly. So that's another big thing of where I said that, in 2019 is where I really, get, because like before 2019, I mean, I was just out here just
acting reckless.
Just, I don't even understand. Like, now that I look back at some of the things, I was like, what were you doing?
Yeah, I do all the time. I look back, what the fuck were you thinking,
like,
man?
what was you doing? So now it's just like, now that, like, you know, I've grown and, you know, I'm each day trying to progress and, you know, doing things like this and progressing and talking to a lot more people, getting more advice. Key point that I've learned now is, like, when I was younger, I never used to listen to anyone. I knew.
Oh, you think you got it all figured out?
Everything was figured out. And now, like, I'm taking, like, my dad, my grandfather, my grandmother. I'm listening. I may not agree with what you're saying, but at least now I'm listening. Mm-hmm. So I'm making my decisions based off of, you know, I don't just jump into everything that I do. That all right, you know what? Like, you pissed me off, now I'm going to go do this. Yeah. Like, so it also plays into, you know, with me being a parent to, like, my daughter. Like, I don't sugarcoat anything with my daughter. Like, I play whatever music I want in the car. Like, I'm not like one of those parents that, like, oh my God, turn that off. Like, they curse. Like, I curse in my house.
I mean, I'll tell you, when I'm a dad, I'm gonna end up being the same way. And it's funny because, like, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, and he was talking to someone one time. He posted a video. And he was like, the woman was like, "You curse, you know, even at home in front of your kids." He was like, "How fucking yeah, I do." He's like, "You're fucking right, I do." And she was like, "Why? You don't have to do that." And he was like, "It's just how I fucking talk. Like, I cannot help it." Like, he's like, "Am I concerned with my daughter going into second grade and saying fuck? No." He's like, "I'm concerned with my daughter being happy, healthy, you know, being a good human being and all that stuff." He's like, I'm not too concerned with if my daughter goes into class and says fuck one day." You know, and I think people are, you know, it's becoming a little bit more normal, even though we're in a way more sensitive fucking society now. But, like, because as people know, like, I curse a lot. And it's just part of my language. Like, it's just a good way for me to illustrate my most honest thoughts. It's the best way for me to communicate. Like, I say fuck all the time. It's my favorite adjective, my favorite verb, my favorite noun. Like, fuck is just, I use it all the time. And, you know, again, it's not like, you know, I'm out here just trying to insult people or be an asshole, but it's just like, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, this is fucking crazy. And you don't even think about it. So I think I would agree with me. Like, come on, like, stop tripping about,
like, these parents like fuck, that, like, listen to Kids Bop only when they're in the car. Like, I'm in the car to bump. Like, I'm
Kids
not
Bop is
listening to
fucking
Kids
whack,
Bop.
man.
So, like, I listen, like, but, like, that's another thing that I like too, is because I'm doing that with my daughter, like, I see more and more of me in her. Which, like, you as a parent, like, you like to see your kid acting almost like you. Like,
oh yeah,
so, like,
and it makes you have a strong relationship too.
So, like, me and her, like, we get into the car, like, on the way to the bus stop. Like, I post it on Snapchat every once in a while. Like, we'll be in there dancing. She's hitting, like, you know, Millie Rocks and freaking Harlem Shakes and all other types of. I love those moments. Like, those are things that, you know, like, when she gets older, she's gonna be like, yo, I remember, like, when my dad used to bring me to the bus stop every morning. We used to do a dance in the car.
Yeah, because those are things that we remember as adults. Those experiences we had with family members and friends and shit like that. And,
exactly.
And man, I think I'll be the same way, because it's funny because I'm like that with my nephew, and he's 2 now, and, like, I'll listen to stuff. You know, my sister will play a song and it'll curse, and he might even curse, and she'll be like, "Don't say that," but then we laughing about it. He'll be like, "Fuck," and I'm like, "Don't say that, man." I'm like, but it's funny as hell. Come on, let's be real.
It's funny, but, you know, that's another thing. So, like, my daughter will not curse, but, like, I curse all the time. Like,
so she already
especially
knows.
when I'm playing video games. Like, I'll be like,
"Oh
fuck,
yeah, I rage out, bro."
Rage shatter things. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. And then, like, but she won't curse. Like, I'll be like, you know, like, every once in a while, like, I'll try and, like, get her to do it, like, just to see if she will do it. And she will not curse. Like, I'll be like, yo, just say fuck. She'll be like, no, like, it's a bad word. And then she'll bleep it out, like, herself, like, beep. Like, it's crazy. So, like, funny, I like things like that, but, like, it's all about just how you raise, like, your kid. Like, Paige and I don't raise Natalie to be, like, this little freaking demon child. Like, I mean, like, we allow her to express herself in certain ways, but in doing that, Natalie also knows, like, all right, like, I can't curse, or no, like, I can't do this. And another thing that we just don't do, and, like, we really hate it, like, it's a pet peeve of ours, and, like, I used to lie, like, a lot, but now, like, I've been watching, like, a lot of Kevin Gates, and he calls himself, like, an avid truth teller. So now I just tell the truth, and I don't care. However it is that you like it, it is what it is. Like, I say whatever I want nowadays, and I might hurt your feelings, but at least you know that I'm being truthful.
Yeah, but she's also gonna be, because I think this is the biggest. That's huge. I really like that you do that, because one of the biggest issues you see a lot of kids have is that people who, until you experience it, you don't realize is that once you leave high school, whether you go into college or not, the moment you leave high school, life changes so significantly, so fast, maybe more so than any other point in life, because you go from, so in high school, and especially because, like, let's be real, senior year is kind of a joke. I mean, my fucking senior year, I had literally, like, open periods. I'm like, what the fuck am I even doing here? Like, and I didn't do, like, SATs and all that. I went to community college, but unless you're really going hard and to go to college, but like in high school, teachers get on you about shit. They want you to do your work. They're gonna reprimand you if you don't do stuff. Exactly. You get to college and it's like, bro, you come here, I'm gonna tell you what to do. You do it or you don't. I don't give a fuck if you do it or not. Exactly. Because I still got classes to teach. This is my job.
Getting paid money.
We're still, the class is moving forward. Whether so I remember when I first got to college and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I did something late, and he was just like 0, and I was like, oh, I was like, wait, you didn't even let me explain. 0. Ooh, you don't want to hear why it's like 0. I'm like, but you didn't remind me. 0, bro. Exactly. It's not my responsibility. It's yours. And I was relatively prepared for that kind of stuff, but there's people who are way worse off who get things handed to them, and there's they're just like spoiled, and they don't have that like that people sugarcoat things. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, you just told me I did something wrong. Wait, what? Like I know, bro. I really know people who are adults who can't handle like somebody being like, no, you made a mistake.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's crazy to think about,
It's bad. Like I think sometimes it's just like an ego thing. Like everyone wants to be right, and nobody can ever just take the moment to be like, you know what? Like I fucked up. Like I did this. Like I gotta wear it. Like, but for me now, it's just like, tell me the truth. Like I don't want you to sugarcoat anything.
I would rather know the truth, because that's the only way I can grow too.
Exactly. You learn from your mistakes. So I did a lot of learning from my mistakes that I made. A whole shit ton of mistakes. But for me, it was just like, so like that's why I like now I don't lie to Natalie, or I don't bend the truth, or I don't do any of that, because me growing up like my grandparents, like I was told like little minute white lies, like, all right, well, there was this and there was this circumstance and this circumstance, or like blah blah, and then all that made me do is just get mad when I really found out, like,
because it's like you feel like you were lied to, and you feel like you had the wrong idea of shit. And again, it makes you less prepared for the real world. Everybody always says, like, when you hit the real world, like there is the world that you're in until you're like 18, and then there's the real world. And some people hit the real world a lot sooner, and you're one of those people because you had a kid and stuff. But like when you grow up, when you start to get into a career, or you go on to higher education, or you become a parent, or anything like that, you have new responsibilities. You become a homeowner. You start to live in your own place and pay your own bills. If you're not prepared for that shit, oh, you are screwed. And it's funny because with like millennials, we get shit on a lot, but there is a lot of truth in it. Is that a lot of people in our age bracket, in our generation, is like, we were kind of brought up where it's like, oh, we're gonna hold your hand. Like, I'm not even lying. So I was raised by my grandparents, and I think you were too, right? Me too. So it's a different aspect, and I always will love that because, up until I hit 18, I was under the impression that literally like people turn 18 and they fucking leave. Like you turn 18 and then you move out. I just thought that was how it was. I didn't move out for the first time until I was like, I think 21 or 22. And even that was hard. And even right now at 25, like living on my own, like it still is a struggle. It's still like, learning to keep up with bills and budgeting and stuff. But it's like, I really thought it was like, oh, and you go to high school and then you graduate and you either move out and go to college or move out and get a job. And that's kind of it. But a lot of people, there's people, still on, I wish I could be on my grandparents' health insurance, but, we're on health insurances and phone plans and car insurance, all this stuff. We're still connected until we're like so old. And it kind of sucks because it's like I was always raised with this mindset, like, and it's also the times, like it's not nearly as doable. I mean, if you look at wages versus the cost of living, that gap is just getting way and way bigger. It makes it harder for people like us,
Yeah. So yeah, my grandparents raised me as well. So for me, like with my grandparents, they were old fashioned. Like you got ass whippings, like you got spankings, like belts, like all those other types of things. And like when I was growing up, I was like, I freaking hate this. And my grandfather used to always say a freaking saying to me that was work hard, play hard. And I absolutely hate it every time he said it. I'm like, can you just stop that shit?
Like I'm just trying to play hard, bro. I don't want to do it.
It's so annoying. But now that like I'm progressing and like in my, I guess I would say my career now, because I really do enjoy what I do. So I mean, like, but it was crazy. So for, like you said, like it was just knowing that like at 18 you move out. But for me, because I was just being a knucklehead and just doing my own thing, like trying to be like being involved in the streets as much as I could possibly, because like they told me not to do it.
Oh, so you want to be rebellious.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it now. Like see you later.
That's the interesting thing is and the thing about parenthood is like it's a lot of it is about balance, because I think you can't be too far on either end of the spectrum. If you give, and again, I'm just speaking from like experience as a son, as a sibling, and not from the aspect of a parent quite yet, but I do know, from a lot of people I've come across is that like if you give somebody too much freedom, then they may just go out and act crazy because they can. But if you also restrict people too much, then they're gonna do what you did and what a lot of people do, what I did, which is like you act rebellious. Like, oh man, like there's people who like if somebody told them they couldn't take again, I'm not saying it's right to let like a 14, 15, 16-year-old to try like a sip of wine, but I would imagine that a kid who tried a sip of wine at that age is a lot less likely to become an alcoholic than somebody who literally their family wouldn't let them touch a drop of liquor till they turned 21. You know, because it's like, again, when we want to rebel, like, so the things that were the most restrictive on us are the things we want to go the hardest and try out. Like you said, like being in the streets, like, oh, you don't want me on the streets? You want me doing dumb shit? You don't want me out late? Well, guess what I'm going to go do? Dumb shit, be in the streets and be out late.
Which would actually backfired on me because they ended up kicking me out. They were like, "Yeah, you got to go." Man, clearly you're not listening. Like, and I was like, at that point in time, I was really upset then too. Like, what? You guys are not supposed to do that. And then like I ended up having to move with my mom. Bad situation. Got out of there, and then I ended up moving, in with Paige and my daughter, and we got our own apartment. I had to bite a bullet on that. I had to go to the family of Woodstock and like ask them for money so we can move into our own place. And it was like crazy. It was crazy. But again, it worked. It all ended up working out because now me and my grandparents have like a very great relationship because now like that I'm older and I understand why they had to do what they had to do. I'm just like, you know what? Like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, like, I can relate. You know what? One of the biggest things that I tell people that I took from my grandparents is that I used to actually hate the fact that every day they were like, do you have homework? Did you do the homework? What stuff is going on? And one of the things that I hated the most was literally, even to this day, man, they still do it, right? But like all throughout high school, if I went out, if I was like, oh, I'm going to crash at a friend's house or I'm going to the football game or whatever, every time it was, call me when you get there, call me when you leave, let me know who's going to be, and I'm like, leave me alone. Like, I'm growing up, like, I got my own car, don't fucking ask me where I'm going, don't ask me who I'm with, like, stuff like that. I used to hate that. But then I realized there's other people who could be gone for weeks from home, and their parents don't even check. And when I look back, I'm like, I tell them, I'm like, I appreciate that so much because, again, at the time, you think it's, they're just hovering over me, they're smothering me, and they're too concerned. But then you look back, it's like, they just cared. They wanted to make sure I was happy and healthy. And again, I had to humble myself as I grew up, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Because I used to always say to my grandma, like, you think you're right about everything? And I'd go back and be like, well, he was right about everything. Surprise, surprise. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, my grandmother still messages me to this day every single day because I have anxiety. So like I've been taking these droppers for all this stuff, and like every week or something, she'll check in on me and be like, well, how did this go? How did this go? And just ask me 100 million questions.
And sometimes it still can be annoying, but
still like, annoying. But I'm just like, you know what? Like I get it. So like I answer and I'll go through the stuff, but like. Those are the things that you really look forward to. Like my dad does it now too. Like so, like it's a great thing. Like I meet, I didn't meet my dad till I was 13.
Yeah,
so
like crazy.
So it was like now like me and him have a crazy relationship and like we still message each other like Power. Like I gotta watch that today. So I'm gonna call him FaceTime and let him know how that went.
My friends to be getting on me. I still haven't started watching it. I really got to.
You haven't?
My
is
friends
absurd.
be getting on me, man. They say it's literally like the best show they've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, like we actually probably gotta end this right now and like we gotta watch it.
We're gonna just binge through. I'm gonna binge through the whole season
watch
after
Power.
This shit.
Nah, it's really crazy.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I think it's really cool how you've been able to kind of like look at family and fatherhood and all that stuff and bring it into work. But going back to the work part of it, so you have started to do some creative things outside the realm of just being a car salesman that are helping you to enhance, improve, and increase your role as a car salesman and then just in life in general. So what kind of stuff have you been doing in those lines?
So I got a logo by a local artist, Jelani.
And it'll be here.
Yeah.
It'll make a lot more sense.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But basically, it's like I put it out there on Facebook, so everyone has pretty much seen it. But the headline is Carman. Yeah, that's me. Which, like you said, I got it from Haha Davis, and it actually sparked the idea. But now it's just stuck. And so now I kind of just have been going through with that. I will be having apparel.
You gotta ride that way, man.
I got shirts, sweatshirts. I haven't really gone into the realm of other things. I've had some people say that they want me to like get keychains made and some other things. So I'm definitely taking those into consideration. But it was actually like one of my managers. I was like, yeah, you got to like separate yourself from everyone else and like do something that, like everyone else wasn't doing. It was also Anastasia's video. Yeah. Because that exploded up big, for man. Her. And I was like, you know what? Like, what can I do for myself that like that won't necessarily bite off of her, but it's going to get me more people as well. So like, and she's like very supportive. So that was a big thing. Oh man,
Annie goes hard, bro. Shout out to Annie who was just on here like a couple weeks ago. Man, she goes hard, and I've noticed both of you, and I appreciate you sharing my stuff too. When her video dropped, I had seen you mention about it, posting about it, like talking about it, and I see you guys commenting each other's stuff all the time. And again, it's like there's a reason that both of you are doing pretty successful and you work at the exact same place in a competitive field, and you're supporting each other and helping each other out. And again, like you said, like learning from each other. Like it's actually fun. I used to have this mindset where I'm like, oh, because when I was really going hard with like the comedy skits, there would be people who would literally do my exact video, but just themselves, and they would never like tag me or credit me. And I used to hate that because there'd be bigger pages that were getting more interactions off of my idea. But then I look back and I'm like, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and it's one thing to imitate. It's another thing to be inspired by, So like when I do a video, like I just remade one of my friend's videos, but I just add a little twist, like you said. So it's like, how can I do something like what Annie did, but something different? So boom, now you both have something creative. One person inspires the other. You're both sharing each other, both coming up, and you end up with this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that's really cool. And I think if it hasn't already, which I'm sure it probably has, it'll start to increase. Your, like I said, your sales and your revenue and your role as the car salesman. And I think it's really cool because one of the things I brought up to her was that I've noticed that you guys at Honda will always post pictures of a customer. And I think that's really cool because again, it makes them feel like more than a customer, because at the end of the day, they're exchanging their money for a vehicle. Yeah. They don't need that appreciation. The appreciation is you guys going that extra mile. Because again, you made that sale. You never have to post anything, and you still got the sale. Yep. So to post that lets them know, like, hey, we care about you. We are going to support you going into the future, and stuff like that. But you also started to do so that, and then every time now the second slide is the Carman thing. And I keep telling people, and that's big because again, I'll show you guys here. Yep. Again, it's about you got to put yourself in front of people. You got to let people know, like, and at first I used to think like that's annoying, and I never wanted to do it, like I said, like with network marketing. I never wanted to do it, but when it's your own thing, I got no shame, man. Every day, and I try to get creative. Like I made a funny video yesterday to plug my clothes and shit. It's like again, getting creative, like because this is stuff I care about. This is stuff I put a lot of hard work into, and even beyond, trying to make money off of it. It's about like again getting my stuff out there, getting the name, the brand, the phrase, the logo, all that stuff, your likeness, getting it all out there. So definitely like it's a good idea to keep going hard on that stuff, man.
So that's definitely my key point. My other thing is that it's really like my page plus the Carman thing, and all that stuff has, been getting me a lot more people at least interested in talking to me. Right. So even though it's not necessarily converting into sales at this moment, I know that at some point it will.
And everybody's going to need another car at some point. That's the one thing. Everybody will need a new car.
Everyone. And we live in Kingston, and for you to get to some places, it's a lot. It's far. Yeah. For the most part. So I'm here for you.
Yeah, and the whole my favorite part about Annie's video was at the very end. She was like, "Bad credit, no credit, everyone's approved." And she actually told me like that wasn't something that she didn't come up until like kind of after she had the song. Was like, but that's a huge thing because when I first got my very first car financed, I had a cosigner. I had no credit established, which I've noticed in some aspects is actually worse than having bad credit because at least you have a history. Yep. Maybe at some point there was 3 years in a row when you made all your payments and then your credit went to shit for whatever reason. But when people can look at a history, they can see your capability. When you have no credit established, you are the biggest liability because who the fuck knows?
Because who knows?
We don't know. There's nothing to go off of,
Exactly.
So I think that's really cool. That's definitely a good thing to drive home. Was like you said, because everybody needs a car, and you guys have a lot of used cars. And another part of it is that hey, come trade your car in with us because it gives you credit, and then that gives us something that. If you have an older car, maybe we can give you $500 for it. Maybe we could sell it for $2,000, and it could put somebody in a $2,000 car, and they don't have to make payments on it. So all those things, because again, with what you do, it becomes very repetitive. Somebody is going to need to either trade in a car, get a new car, get work done on the car, something like that, somewhere along the way. And you guys have the benefit of being a Honda dealership, which is just one of the biggest, most reliable brands. So anybody who has a Honda, even if they didn't get it from you, or just any kind of car, really can come and be like, hey, any Japanese stuff, which is a lot of big ones, Honda, Toyota, Nissan, some of the most by far reliable vehicles. My very first car was a Toyota Corolla. Loved it. I never got into a Honda, and I'm surprised I never did. But I mean, people tell you, man, Civics will fucking drive until the wheels will fall off a Civic, the fucking earth will fall apart before a Civic's engine blows. Like those cars
now, I got a 06 Nissan Altima.
And that shit's still pumping. I've had a bunch of Nissans. That's been my thing is Nissan.
I've had it for 5 years. Older couple had it before me. I only have 72,000 miles on it right now because I don't go anywhere besides to work and home. So, but yeah, they definitely run like pretty good. So
that's awesome, man. So before I let you go, do you have what kind of stuff like you're getting started right now with the merchandise and stuff? And you got a store that you're working on right now, and we'll have, if not up here, at the very least it'll be in the descriptions. So definitely check that and go support my man. He's got some cool stuff in the works. But so where are you kind of trying to take the creative stuff, and then do you have any plans to do other things outside of Honda, other things creatively to help you with Honda? What kind of stuff you think you got going on for the future?
So my biggest dream right now, like I'm using, car sales. Car sales could turn into something that it's going to get me to the next level of where I want to be, which is to actually flip houses.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to get into that, man.
So that's what I want to do, rent and maybe do some Airbnbs, flip houses.
There's so many options now, and people are, what's crazy? There's a lot of people who need to stay in Kingston for shit. Business stuff. And I never used to think that, because I remember when all these hotels are popping, I'm like, who the fuck stays in Kingston? Yeah. But then they open a new hotel and the shit's packed, because they do a lot of conferencing and stuff like that in Kingston, actually.
There's a lot of people that actually are in Kingston. So there was one day when I was at this hotel or whatever, and there was like some party going on, and I actually met a celebrity, and it was actually the guy on the couch from Half Baked.
Wow, really?
It was crazy.
Shit.
I was like, wait, why are you here? He was like, I just, I was stopping through, and, this looked like a nice little town.
I remember when PNB Rock was fucking at Wendy's like a couple months ago. I'm like, what the fuck was he doing out here?
He got
nobody
some trash weed, by the way, and he posted about it.
I'm like, what the hell is he doing out here? Like, what?
But yeah, it was, so those are definitely, the things, my stepping stone of where I want to go. Of course, I'm trying to expand my family, possibly get a nice little son in here.
Okay.
Get a bigger house. The next thing, you can never be content with where you're at. And that's like one thing with me. So I'm never content. Like I could be doing like right now, like to a lot of people, like I'm probably doing like super good. But to me, I fucking suck. And I need to do better.
Yeah, man.
And like some people, like you just need to realize that you're only like 23 and turning 24. Like you have so much more time to like get to these things.
Yeah, but when you have that mentality of the sky's the limit, that's just going to help you keep going. I mean, that's the same reason why after a game, LeBron or Tom Brady, LeBron could drop fucking 60, and after the game, the first thing out of his mouth would be like, man, there was a couple passes I really wish I had made. I had 2 turnovers. Like, bro, he just dropped 60. But all you want to talk about is the bad thing, because it's like you can always get, and that's why he's best in the world right now. One of the best ever to do stuff like that. I agree, 100%. The best
Team
ever.
LeBron.
But that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, man, it sounds like you got some really cool stuff going on. And like I said, once you get the store up and all that stuff, that'll be all up in here. It could be up in the video. We'll see how time frame works with editing and all that stuff. But I appreciate you coming out, man.
Thank you for having me.
Right, lastly, before I let you go, where can people find you? Social media, all that good stuff.
I'm on Instagram. My name, I just changed it to Carman. Yeah, that's me. I also am on Facebook. My regular name is my whole government name, so it's like Darian Mc'Cargo-Johnson for my main page, for my main name. But I also have an actual page for like my business, which is just called Carman. But you can also add Carman. Yeah, that's me if you want to do that. I'm not really on Twitter, so you might as well not even follow that. But I'm on Snapchat too, which is like DreamBig3423. So that's where you can find me at.
And of course they can find you at Leah Honda, which is located
743 East Chester Street in Kingston. You can find me there. I'm always there, except for on Wednesdays and Sundays, but I'm mostly there too, and people that I work with will tell you that.
Well, there you go, man. Like I said, thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. Look forward to the stuff you got going on. And as always, I will see y'all next week. Peace.